A young boy groans while lying on his stomach, slowly regaining consciousness in a dark and mysterious place. He lifts his head and questions what happened, looking at his hands before realizing he is in the middle of a strange circular pattern on the floor surrounded by lit candles. His eyes wander around the room and he sees stacks of books and a coffin leaning against the wall, making him wonder where he is. A memory flashes through his mind of the back of an ambulance, and he recalls that he was on his way to the hospital. As he pushes himself up, he comes to the startling conclusion that he must have died and been reincarnated. A young girl with blonde hair tied in pigtails, who is also bound with ropes on the floor, addresses him as Lux-sama. Hearing his new name, the boy points at himself and asks the girl if she just called him Lux, completely bewildered by the situation. He moves closer to the girl's face, urgently asking if he is truly Lux. Panicked, he shouts for a mirror and rushes towards a full-length mirror standing nearby. He stares in shock at his reflection, seeing a young boy with dark, messy hair instead of his old self, finding it impossible to believe. The horrible truth dawns on him as he recognizes his new face from a book, realizing he has become Lux Zeldia from the game Blasphane, which he thinks is the worst possible outcome. He remembers this character as a villain with a menacing grin and claw-like hands. This realization is connected to his past life where he was completely hooked on a video game called Blaze Fantasy. The game's world is a vibrant fantasy setting with charming towns and landscapes, where the goal is to interact with a group of lovely heroines. He turns to a map hanging on the wall and points out the kingdom of Rogland and the Zeldia territory, confirming his location in the game world. The young girl, still tied up, asks if he is okay since he suddenly started staring at the map. He confirms to himself that everything is exactly as it appears in the official game setting book, a guide that he recalls being quite expensive but so well loved that his own copy was worn out. The game, also known as Blasphane, was a popular romance action RPG he played on a handheld console. In the game, players progressed through a school section to build relationships with heroines for a happy ending, and also a battle part where they would team up with those heroines to fight monsters and eventually defeat the Demon King. Standing in the room, he fully accepts that he has been reincarnated into the world of Blasphane. He looks over at the tied-up princess and notes that she seems to be doing well. He then starts to wonder aloud about the well-being of the game's other heroines like Lyra, Eliza, and Claire. The tied-up girl, whose name is Morga, overhears him listing only women's names and cheekily asks if he is in love with them. With a huge, sparkling smile, he enthusiastically declares that of course he is, and that he loves them all as a fan. Morga is completely taken aback by his sudden cheerful declaration. He continues to smile, saying that now that he's been reincarnated here, he would absolutely love to meet all of them in person. As he fantasizes about meeting the game's characters, he remembers the great appeal of Blasphane was its characters, recalling his old room filled with merchandise like figures and books. Morga, still sitting tied up on the floor, interrupts his thoughts by asking him what he is doing. She angrily reminds him that he was the one who tied her up in the first place. The boy, Lux, is shocked as she points an accusatory finger at him. The girl is identified as Morga, the Zeldia family's maid-in-training. She furiously reminds him that he planned to summon a demon and use her as the sacrifice. The memory hits Lux like a ton of bricks, and he remembers with horror that he has been reincarnated as Lux Zeldia, a despised mid-boss from the game. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he decides they should stop the demon summoning and clean up the magic circle. He then unties Morga, apologizing for dragging her into his mess and assuming she must have hated it. Morga, however, replies with a cheerful smile that she can't hate something that lets her skip her work. Lux then leaves the room to figure out his next move, while Morga begins cleaning up the mess he made. He calls out to another maid, asking her to help Morga clean the main hall. As he approaches the second maid and apologizes for startling her, she screams in terror, calling him the child of the evil eye, before running away. Morga tries to stop her, but Lux tells her it's okay because he understands the maid's reaction, acknowledging his evil eye. The evil eye is a despised trait in this world, with one of Lux's eyes having a unique, magical pattern. Centuries ago, a demon king who also possessed an evil eye brought ruin to the land, and the fear of it became deeply ingrained in the culture and folklore of the people. This fear led to the belief that a child with an evil eye would bring disaster to the country, as shown by graveyards filled with skulls. This curse had a devastating impact on the original Lux's life. His mother took her own life shortly after his birth, and his father treated him as if he didn't exist, all because he was born with the evil eye. This torment and isolation eventually caused Lux to become deranged and obsessed with summoning demons. His path ultimately led him to be tempted by the Demon King's soul, which he revived after years of effort, only to be killed in the end. After his death, the Demon King's plan came to fruition as he took the evil eye from Lux's corpse to achieve a complete revival, meaning there was no path to survival for Lux in the original story. Standing alone, Lux touches his eye, realizing that as long as he possesses it, he will be targeted by the Demon King's forces. He feels a wave of despair, questioning if he is destined to die even after being reincarnated into the world of his favorite game. Back in his room, Morga mentions that the maid who ran away is new and her hometown was destroyed by demons, making her especially fearful of the evil eye. Lux tries to leave, claiming he is just tired, but Morga follows him to his room, worried. As Lux stumbles, Morga catches him, insisting that he needs to rest. In his bedroom, Morga tries to feed him, but he insists he can eat on his own. She then asks him if he isn't bothered by her lack of fear towards his evil eye. She explains that while it was a bit unnerving at first, she got used to it and knows that despite its name, it's harmless. With a bright smile, she says she now feels like she's taking care of a selfish little brother, which makes Lux smile back at her. As she leaves for the night, Lux lies in bed and notices a piece of paper on his nightstand. It's a wish list written by the original Lux, with desires like getting revenge on those who underestimated his eyes, being recognized by his father, and simply wanting to be happy. Seeing the original Lux's heartfelt wishes, the reincarnated Lux touches his own eye and makes a firm decision under the light of the full moon. The next day, he tells Morga to take him to the training ground. She is skeptical, reminding him that he tried training last year but gave up after just a few minutes. Lux, however, is resolute, acknowledging his weak physique but stating that his mind is made up. At the training ground, they watch soldiers sparring with swords. Morga asks what he plans to do, and he replies that he's going to use his evil eye to try something. He remembers that in the game, Lux didn't know how to fully utilize his eye's power. But the reincarnated Lux, having studied the game's official guidebook in his past life, knows that the evil eye isn't just for scaring people. He closes his normal eye and focuses with his evil eye, feeling an amazing power awaken within him. He realizes he can see and feel the soldiers' movements as if their actions are seeping directly into his body. He watches them for so long that the sun begins to set, and Morga tells him it's time to go back. As they leave, Lux smiles, confident that this power could work. Over the next few days, he returns to the training grounds to observe. Soldiers notice him, and one asks if it's time for him to get some exercise too. An older man with glasses approaches, introducing himself as Yoris, the commanding officer. Lux sizes up Yoris, thinking he looks quite strong, and then boldly asks the commander to fight him. Yoris is taken aback by the request. Lux explains that he wants to test his strength, much to Morga's shock. She knows that Yoris is a former captain of the Royal Knights unit, a man of immense strength. Yoris agrees to the mock battle but warns Lux that he won't be responsible for any injuries. As they prepare to fight, the other soldiers whisper about what Lux is thinking, challenging the commander. Yoris tells Lux to come at him with all his might, and Lux readies his sword. The duel begins, and Lux immediately leaps into action, his movements shocking Morga and the onlooking soldiers. He moves with surprising speed and agility, dodging Yoris's attack and landing near him. Yoris is stunned, recognizing the sword technique as one he learned in the Royal Knights and is taught to his own men. He angrily asks if Lux learned the technique just by watching him. The secret lies in the evil eye's powerful abilities, one of which is the Eye of Observation, a cheat-like skill that allows the user to copy swordsmanship and magic just by looking at them. The fight continues, and the soldiers can't believe that Lux is going toe-to-toe with their commander. Lux prepares to use a basic skill called Power Slash, but Yoris realizes it's more than just a simple technique. An extraordinary amount of magical power gathers around Lux, as the true essence of the evil eye imbues his attack. Lux clenches his teeth, determined not to let his fate be the same as the original game, where he is killed and his eye is stolen by the revived Demon King. He decides he will destroy the original storyline, preventing the resurrection of the Demon King and stabilizing the world. This way, there will be no villains or mid-bosses, leaving only the peaceful romance between the hero and heroines for him to watch from afar. To achieve this, he knows he must get stronger, using his evil eye to its full potential. With renewed determination, he declares that he will become a background fan who protects the main characters, ready to resist his tragic fate and forge a new path for himself. The duel between Lux and Commander Yoris continues with a clash of swords, both fighters breathing heavily from the exertion. Suddenly, Lux is thrown backwards, screaming as he collapses onto the ground in agony. He clutches his body, racked with full-body pain and wondering what kind of powerful technique Joris used against him. Joris stands over him, equally bewildered, explaining that he simply blocked Lux's attack and didn't use any special move. The commander deduces that while Lux perfectly mimicked the movements of trained soldiers, his own body wasn't prepared for such strain and he pushed it far beyond its limits, resulting in the incapacitating pain. Kneeling on the ground, Lux apologizes to Joris for his earlier rudeness and, with a look of fierce determination, declares his desperate wish to become stronger, asking the commander to train him. Joris smiles warmly and agrees, promising to help Lux build a strong, well-trained body from the ground up, and they seal their new partnership with a handshake. The story's focus shifts, showing a title page where Lux is surrounded by grasping, shadowy hands, with the words, "Break the destiny of the evil eye," written above him. Several days later, the training is in full swing as Joris relentlessly pushes his soldiers, including Lux, to run more laps. The other soldiers are collapsing from exhaustion, complaining about the commander's hellish regimen, but Lux manages to keep up. He practices his sword swings with impressive form, and the other soldiers watch in amazement, noting that he actually seems to be enjoying the intense workout. Joris observes with a stern expression, ordering the tired soldiers to do 100 swings while Lux grins, ready for the challenge. Lux understands that to handle the advanced skills he copies with his evil eye, he needs to build his physical endurance, and this thought fills him with excitement as he runs from the mansion, eager for more training. The next day, Lux is completely wiped out, sprawled across his bed with severe muscle pain. Joris and Morga stand by his bedside, and the commander explains that rest is also a crucial part of training and that they will continue once Lux has recovered. As he rests, Lux thinks about his new journey, which has diverged greatly from the original game's tragic storyline. He knows he has 5 years before the main plot begins, but he worries that his evil eye will be targeted by the Demon King's followers before then. He realizes that becoming a simple background character will not be easy and that he cannot afford to waste any time. While Lux is deep in thought, Morga and another maid are seen looking for him, worried about his whereabouts. To make the most of his recovery time, Lux immerses himself in studying magic in the library. As Morga brings him a snack, she trips and starts to fall. Using his newly learned abilities, Lux perceives her fall in slow motion and acts quickly, using magic to catch the falling tray and save the snacks just in time. After he helps Morga up, he explains that while he has gone through many spellbooks, he's discovered that he can only use dark magic. He feels disappointed because he wanted to use flashier spells like the ones in the game, but all he has are support magic and debuffs. Morga reminds him that he's lucky to be able to use any magic at all, as most people can't, and she is quite jealous. She gives an example of a senior maid who uses wind magic to dry laundry, but Lux decides to focus on what he has, realizing that his dark magic debuffs will complement his sword fighting style. Later, while enjoying a delicious sandwich that Morga made for him, Lux decides to give her a gift in return. Using his dark magic and the super observation ability of his evil eye, he attempts to create an identical copy of the sandwich. To Morga's surprise, a sandwich materializes on the plate, but it's completely pitch black. Lux explains that since he didn't have the ingredients, he used his own mana to form the replica, but the result is a crumbling, imperfect copy. This failure sparks an idea. If he can't create physical matter from mana, perhaps he can replicate something that is already made of pure mana. With newfound determination, he rushes off to find the maid who can use wind magic, leaving a confused Morga behind with the strange, black sandwich. Lux's days become a cycle of intense physical training and diligent magic research. After some time, he stands on the training grounds again, this time facing a regular soldier for a real duel. The battle begins, and Lux's improved physique allows him to move with incredible speed and agility, easily dodging the soldier's attacks. He feels amazing, not at all tired or out of breath, realizing that this is the result of his hard work. Though his skill is superior, the soldier's raw power proves to be a challenge, forcing Lux to create distance. Joris, watching from the side, encourages him, reminding him that this isn't his full potential. Lux understands and dashes away from his opponent before unleashing a new technique. He uses his imitation ability to replicate the wind magic he observed from the senior maid, casting a powerful death cyclone that engulfs the soldier. Joris calls an end to the match as the soldier is overwhelmed by the magical vortex, readily admitting defeat. The other soldiers are in awe of Lux's power, calling him a magic swordsman. Joris praises Lux, acknowledging that all his new moves are the result of his dedicated training. The soldiers warmly congratulate Lux, playfully ruffling his hair. As he smiles, surrounded by his new comrades, Lux feels that his plan to change his fate is making progress and that he has gained some power to protect himself and his cursed evil eye. The day ends with Joris announcing an even harder training regimen for the following day, as Lux's journey to defy destiny has only just begun. To achieve his goal of becoming a background character who watches over the heroines, Lux dedicates himself to a new life, undertaking rigorous swordsmanship training and sacrificing sleep to study magic, all while protecting his cursed evil eye. As a result of his intense focus, he neglects his appearance, and one day Morga finds him looking completely ragged with messy hair and a wild look in his eyes. She asks what's wrong, and he simply states that he is busy researching magic before she wishes him luck and leaves him to his studies. Lux now enjoys a fulfilling life filled with training, studying, and eating well, a stark contrast to his previous life where he was often sick and confined to a hospital bed. However, despite his internal changes, the other maids in the mansion are still terrified of him, creating a tense atmosphere whenever he is around. Morga explains that this is because he hasn't been able to shed his eccentric and villainous image. She reminds him of his past bizarre behavior, like making voodoo dolls from bread and attempting to summon demons with ketchup and meat, which has left a lasting negative impression. This feeling of being watched and judged from a distance reminds Lux of his previous life, where he was ostracized by his classmates due to his constant illness, and he realizes he and the original Lux shared similar circumstances of being outcasts. As they walk down a hallway, Morga expresses her frustration that despite all his efforts to change, the other maids still hold a strong prejudice against him. Lux says he is used to it, but Morga insists that no one has noticed his transformation because of his appearance. She bluntly tells him that he looks creepy, scary, and unclean, which causes people to misunderstand him. Lux argues that looks shouldn't matter and that he bathes every day, but Morga delivers the final blow by stating that he looks like the Demon King's stooge. Defeated, Lux begs Morga for help, and she confidently agrees to take charge of his makeover. Morga introduces Lux to Melon, the Zeldia family's maid-in-training and fashion leader. When Lux vaguely asks to be made presentable, Melon and Morga lecture him on his naive understanding of fashion, explaining that being clean and looking clean are different concepts. Humbled, Lux asks them to teach him the basics from scratch. The makeover begins with Melon meticulously grooming him, from cutting his hair to shaping his eyebrows. As he relaxes with a face mask on, Lux realizes how much hard work goes into being fashionable and resolves to do his best. His thoughts then turn to the Demon King, and he remembers that in the game, the villain could deactivate his evil eye. This gives Lux a new goal, to learn how to switch his own evil eye off. Morga finds him practicing strange poses as he tries to command his eye to calm down, and he explains his new plan. He is confident that although it won't be easy, he can learn to control it. His daily life becomes even more hectic as he adds grooming and research on his eye to his training and studying schedule. Finally, the transformation is complete. Lux emerges as a handsome and well-dressed young man in a smart suit, his hair neatly styled and his eyes sparkling with confidence. As he leaves, the maids who once feared him are now completely smitten, blushing and fawning over him. They flock around him, asking when he'll be back from his quest to defeat monsters. Lux smiles, realizing Morga was right about how important appearances are, as the maids now openly admire his beautiful eyes. Morga shoos the others away, telling them not to get carried away, and Lux reflects that his plan to become a background character has taken a huge step forward. Several months after reincarnating, he leaves the mansion by carriage, and on his journey, he has a face-to-face encounter with Eliza Carroll, one of the main heroines of Blaze Fantasy and a character he has long admired. During his journey to defeat monsters, Lux finds himself in the old capital of Gran Rosilio within the Zeldia territory. He and his companions, including Joris, have finished their mission much earlier than expected. As they walk through the city, a young woman with long, light-colored hair approaches and asks if they are from the Zeldia family. She recognizes Lux and greets him warmly, and he is stunned to realize she is Alessia Coral, a character from the main game and the older sister of one of the heroines, Eliza Coral. Alessia is a daughter of the prestigious Coral family, one of the big three noble houses. Lux becomes instantly nervous in her presence, and Alessia teases him, noting how much he has changed and how handsome he has become. She leans in close, complimenting him, and Lux, flustered but also pleased with his hard work on his appearance, can't help but feel a little proud. Alessia then mentions that her sister Eliza is also with her, and to Lux's utter shock, she calls Eliza over to say hello. His heart isn't ready for this surprise encounter with one of his favorite characters. Eliza approaches, looking annoyed at her sister's loud summons. She curtly tells her sister not to be so loud and that she doesn't want to say hello. Alessia apologizes for her sister's behavior, explaining that she acts this way with everyone, while Lux is simply starstruck, tears of joy welling up in his eyes as he stands before the real Eliza. He recognizes her classic, tsundere, personality from the game, where she is never sweet to anyone except the main character. Alessia suggests that Lux keep Eliza company, and he, wanting to gain her trust to avoid a villainous future, awkwardly greets her. He immediately realizes he is grinning too much, and Eliza, unimpressed, asks who he is. Lux introduces himself, and she remarks on how much he has changed. Unlike her kind-hearted sister, Eliza has a personality that enjoys looking down on others, and Lux finds this perfectly in character with his memories of the game. Eliza then notices that his famous evil eye is gone, and Lux explains that he can now turn it off. She remarks that if he could have done that earlier, he wouldn't have had so much trouble, which Lux interprets as her being worried about him. However, Eliza quickly refutes this, blushing and turning away. Lux can't help but grin, knowing that deep down, Eliza is a good kid. She gets annoyed and tells him to stop, which only makes him happier, as he finds being looked down on by her strangely addictive. Eliza then asks about his sudden interest in swordsmanship, recalling his ragged appearance a year ago. Intrigued, she asks him to show her his skills, and he eagerly agrees, ready to show off the moves he has learned. He unleashes a powerful move, moving so fast that Eliza can't even see him clearly. She is impressed and asks how he improved so much in a short time. He modestly demonstrates a basic stance, and she compliments him, saying he did well for the Lux she used to know. Eliza then reveals that she is in the Zeldia territory to see His Highness, and Lux's mind races to figure out who she means, quickly concluding it must be the prince of the country. He remembers from the game that Eliza has a crush on the prince at this point in the story. He finds it strange that Alessia didn't mention this and gets a bad feeling as he starts to piece things together. As Alessia wanders off, Eliza starts to look for her, and Lux, wanting to help, stops her to ask a critical question. He points out that if she and the prince were planning to meet, it would mean they are already lovers. Panicked at the thought of how to answer, Eliza tells him to look over there and then tries to run away, telling him to stop following her. However, it's too late. As they round a corner, they see Alessia and the prince sharing a passionate kiss. Lux is horrified, realizing this is the worst-case scenario. It turns out that Alessia and the prince are classmates and have been engaged for years, meaning Eliza's love for the prince is unrequited. Alessia had used Lux to distract Eliza so she could have a secret date with the prince. Crushed and heartbroken, Eliza admits that she knew she couldn't beat her sister. Lux recalls that Eliza's inferiority complex towards her perfect, superhuman sister is a major part of her character arc in the game. Her sister Alessia is top-notch in everything from academics to magic and has a personality that everyone loves, while Eliza, in comparison, is less skilled and her physique becomes less attractive over time. She is only saved from this downward spiral when she meets the game's protagonist, but that is still 5 years away. Seeing Eliza's tear-streaked face as she laments her situation, Lux feels a pang of empathy. He remembers his own feelings of inadequacy and decides to intervene. He tells her it's not true that she's losing to her sister and that she has her own unique qualities. When she challenges him to name them, he confidently lists all the things he knows about her from the game: her secret dedication to swordsmanship, her kindness to animals and children, her equal treatment of servants, and how she uses harsh words to hide her embarrassment but regrets them later. He passionately declares on behalf of all the game's players that he loves everything about her. Overwhelmed by his sincere and detailed praise, Eliza is left speechless and blushing. He admits he might have overdone it, but Eliza, with a small, genuine smile, says she feels a little better and thanks him. Glad to have helped, Lux grabs her hand, determined to get revenge for his heroine's frustration. Determined to help Eliza, Lux orchestrates a plan for her to interact with the prince. He and Eliza pretend to be children who don't understand the situation, attacking the prince and Alessia with innocent greetings. Lux's goal is to give Eliza as much time as possible to talk to her crush, but he notices that she isn't speaking to the prince at all, which confuses him. As he whispers in her ear, trying to figure out what's wrong, she shyly asks him to stop. Lux dismisses his concerns, assuming she is just nervous, and his first encounter with the heroine comes to an end with a lingering sense of doubt. Back home, Lux is riding in a carriage, reflecting on his meeting with Eliza and filled with excitement about which heroine he might meet next. His daydreaming is cut short when he is informed that his older brother, Dennis, is coming home. Lux panics, as this is a completely unexpected development. He knows very little about Dennis, except for the fact that their mother's suicide after giving birth to the child of the evil eye must have deeply affected their sibling relationship. He worries that Dennis must hate him, and when he finally comes face to face with his brother, he is so nervous that he awkwardly apologizes for making him wait. Dennis, however, warmly asks why he would ever hate him, introducing himself as Dennis Zeldia and striking a dramatic pose. Dennis is overly theatrical, constantly repeating himself and complimenting Lux's new, gentlemanly appearance. Lux is confused by his brother's strange behavior, especially when Dennis comments on his appearance with a strange intensity. Lux initially thinks his brother is referring to his evil eye, but Dennis clarifies that he is talking about his nice outfit. Despite his oddities, Dennis doesn't seem to dislike Lux, which leads Lux to wonder if he is actually a nice person. Over dinner, Dennis dominates the conversation with endless bragging, which quickly starts to annoy Lux. The conversation turns to magic, and Dennis reveals that he possesses the rare lightning attribute, a power that only a few people in history have ever wielded. Lux is shocked and immediately wants to copy this amazing skill with his evil eye. He asks Dennis to show him his magic, and after some persistence, Dennis agrees. That night, they go outside, and Dennis prepares to cast a basic spell called Thunderbolt. Lux's imagination runs wild, picturing an incredibly powerful attack. Dennis strikes a pose and casts the spell, but the result is a tiny, pathetic spark that fizzles out on the ground. Lux is utterly disappointed, but he forces a smile and praises his brother's amazing magic. Dennis seems pleased, and later that night, Lux sees him practicing in secret, realizing that his brother is putting in a lot of effort despite his lack of natural talent. The next day, Lux sees Dennis emerging from a room, looking sweaty, and senses a tremendous amount of magic lingering in the air. He concludes that his brother must have been practicing all night. As Lux is thinking about his brother, Morga appears with a small, flickering flame in her hand. Lux is shocked to see her using magic and asks how it's possible. Morga explains that after she ate the black, mana-infused sandwich he created, she gained the ability to use magic. This revelation hits Lux like a ton of bricks. He has no memory of this detail from the game, which means there are still things about this world he doesn't know. He realizes that if he uses his food imitation ability, he can potentially give others magical powers. A month later, after secretly mixing his food copies into his brother's meals, he asks Dennis to show him his magic again. With a confident grin, Dennis unleashes a powerful top-level lightning spell, Judgment Thunder, that creates a massive explosion, shocking Lux to his core. Dennis, oblivious to the cause of his sudden power-up, is terrified of his own talent. Lux realizes it wasn't talent but his own intervention that caused this. Dennis then asks about Lux's evil eye, and Lux explains that he can turn it off. Dennis, surprised that Lux achieved this on his own, tells him not to push himself too hard and reminds him that he has a brother he can rely on. With a bright smile, Dennis declares that he is there for him, and Lux, for the first time, feels he has a true older brother. Back in his room, feeling happy and accomplished, Lux receives a letter. It's an invitation to the 10th anniversary celebration of the kingdom, a super important event that serves as the prologue to the game Blaze Fantasy. The main characters will all gather in the royal capital for a grand celebration, including a dance party and a swordsmanship tournament, signaling that the game he knows and loves is finally about to begin. Fireworks explode over the royal capital, which is bustling with people celebrating the kingdom's 10th anniversary. Lux, accompanied by his maids, finds himself in the middle of the lively festival. Overwhelmed by how far he has come after days of steady training, he sheds a tear of joy, realizing it's finally time for the game, Blazfan, to truly begin. The first event is the swordsmanship tournament, a test of skill for all participants. His maids and brother, Dennis, are there to cheer him on, with Dennis holding up heart-shaped signs of support, much to Lux's embarrassment. Lux and Morga look at the tournament bracket and find the name of another main heroine, Claire Wingate. She is the daughter of the Royal Knights General and possesses the best swordsmanship skills in the entire series. Lux is ecstatic at the thought of facing her in the finals, laughing and crying with excitement as Morga tries to get his attention. As he heads to the venue, he unexpectedly runs into Eliza. He asks why she is there, and she explains that since she isn't participating in the tournament and has free time, she came to cheer for him. Lux is overjoyed by her support, and she encourages him to win, promising to watch his matches. Filled with happiness and determination, Lux feels grateful for everyone who is cheering him on, realizing how much his life has changed from being the hated outcast. He enters the arena for his first-round match, wondering about his opponent. The other fighter, a young man with glasses, insists on using a real sword despite the injury prevention spells in place. He then disgustingly calls Lux a child of the evil eye and an abomination. He complains to the referee about Lux's eye, accusing him of planning to use underhanded tactics. Lux, however, proudly states his name, Lux Zeldia, and swears to fight fair and square. The match begins, and his opponent, Gellius Malaysia, immediately powers up with an impressive amount of magical energy. From the stands, Dennis notes that Gellius is from a noble family comparable to the Big Three, but Joris confidently states that Lux's magical power, amplified by his evil eye, is on another level. To their surprise, Lux doesn't use his magic at all. Gellius taunts him, calling him an evil-eyed monster, and launches a hyper-slash attack. The crowd, including Dennis and the maids, screams for Lux to watch out. However, Lux effortlessly parries the attack, much to Gellius's shock. He attacks again with the same move, but Lux easily dodges it. Joris proudly explains that Lux isn't using magic, but is simply evading with the skill he has honed through daily training. Lux then tells Gellius that his talent, born from privilege, is not enough to defeat him, and with a single powerful strike, he sends Gellius flying, winning the match. After his victory, the maids and Alessia cheer for him, while Eliza looks on with a complicated expression. As Lux walks away, he overhears other spectators whispering that he must have cheated using his evil eye. He tries to ignore their baseless accusations, but his subsequent opponents in the second and third rounds withdraw from their matches, giving him wins by default. He is frustrated that no one wants to fight him, and the other participants openly mock him, saying they wouldn't want to fight a creep with an evil eye. This experience deeply disheartens him, making him feel that despite his efforts, he can't escape his fate and is no different from his isolated past self. Just as he is about to give up, he reaches the finals, where he is scheduled to fight Claire Wingate. He assumes that she, too, will not want to fight him and is surprised when she appears, apologizing for her delay. She explains that she was just warming up and introduces herself. Lux, still a bit starstruck, confirms his identity. Claire then makes a condition for their fight, that he doesn't hold back like he did in his first match. She wants him to go all out and even use his evil eye. When Lux asks if she isn't creeped out by it, she tells him that his and her eyes are the same. They are the eyes of those who seek strength. She recognizes the determination in his gaze and challenges him to show her his real sword. Inspired by her words, Lux's fighting spirit is reignited. The two talented sword fighters take their positions, ready to begin the final match and determine who is the strongest. The final match of the swordsmanship tournament begins, with the crowd buzzing about the matchup between the Knight Commander's daughter, Claire, and the infamous Evil Eye Kid, Lux. The spectators jeer at Lux, shouting for him to get lost and lose already, but he ignores them, focusing solely on the fight ahead and his promise to go all out for Claire. The duel starts, and the two are evenly matched, their swords clashing with incredible speed and precision. Lux recognizes Claire's strength, knowing that a single moment of carelessness will lead to his defeat. As the fight continues, Lux realizes that Claire isn't using her full power yet, which she confirms by telling him she's getting bored and that he should come at her with everything he has. Lux, breathing heavily, admits that he has already gone all out, but then cheekily corrects himself, saying he's only at 80% of his power and will now fight at 100%. He then playfully claims to be at 50%, confusing Claire but also making her glad. She tells him she's counting on him to give her a real fight. Suddenly, Claire's speed increases dramatically, and Lux can barely keep up with her movements, which are as fluid and graceful as a dance. The crowd roars, cheering for Claire as she presses her advantage. From the sidelines, Alessia and Morga worry for Lux, while Joris and Dennis watch intently, knowing that if Lux can withstand this barrage, he'll have a chance to win. Claire tells Lux it's a shame and that she expected a better fight, but as she moves in for the final blow, Lux manages to dodge at the last second. He apologizes for being a bore, explaining that he needed time to adjust to her full power. Now ready, he declares it's time for him to go all out as well. To Claire's astonishment, he perfectly copies her signature sword dance technique. He explains that this is the power of his evil eye, and Claire, far from being upset, is thrilled, finding him incredibly interesting. Claire reveals that she has been bored for a long time, easily defeating every opponent, including her father and her master. The sword she loved so much had become something she mastered in solitude. She has been waiting for a worthy rival, and now she has found one in Lux. Her stance changes once more, and she unleashes a new, powerful strike that is completely different from her previous moves. Lux realizes that she has devised a new swordsmanship style in the middle of their battle. He meets her new move head-on, and the clash of their swords creates a deafening sound. The battle intensifies, with both fighters pushing each other to new heights, their skills evolving with every exchange. The crowd watches in amazement, their initial prejudice forgotten as they witness the magnificent duel. Lux and Claire are both having the time of their lives, reveling in the thrill of the fight and wondering just how strong they can become. They wish the moment could last forever, but their bodies eventually reach their limits. In the end, the announcer declares Claire the winner as Lux collapses from exhaustion, unable to move. Though he lost, Lux is happy. Claire rushes over and, to his surprise, excitedly asks him to fight her again. He agrees, honored by her request, and she celebrates with a gleeful yahoo, tackling him in a hug. Lux is happy to have met her standards and sees a childish side of her he never knew existed. As the officials prepare for the awards ceremony, Lux starts to leave, believing his unpopularity would ruin the event. However, he is stopped by the cheers of the crowd. The same people who booed him before now praise him and Claire for the incredible match. They apologize for their earlier behavior, and Lux, who was too focused to even notice, is moved by their change of heart. His friends and family rush to congratulate him, and he and Claire shake hands, a new bond of rivalry and friendship forged between them. The second day of the 10th anniversary celebration is all about the festival, and Lux, despite being tired from the tournament, is determined not to miss it. He finds himself in a lively, Japanese-style festival, a unique feature of the game, Blasfan, that he is thrilled to experience in person. His brother Dennis, however, is not as keen on festivals but is completely captivated by the delicious takoyaki. Yoris reminds Lux to stay close to his brother, who has declared himself Lux's guardian for the day. Suddenly, Lux hears a familiar voice and turns to see Eliza, beautifully dressed in a yukata. He is overjoyed to see her, and she is glad that he is okay after their intense match. Lux asks Eliza if she is at the festival alone, and just as she is about to answer, Dennis appears, dramatically declaring that a gentleman should not leave a lady by herself. He pushes Lux and Eliza together, telling them to hold hands so they don't get separated in the crowd. Dennis then makes a quick escape, leaving Lux and Eliza in an awkward but sweet situation. Eliza, blushing, agrees to keep holding hands, and as they walk through the festival, they are joined by Claire, who is also excited to see them. Claire is dressed in casual clothes, another rare sight that delights Lux. A strange tension fills the air as Claire asks if Lux and Eliza are in a relationship, which Eliza vehemently denies, claiming they are just childhood friends. Claire then offers to hold Lux's other hand, leading to a comical argument between the two heroines as they both vie for his attention. Lux, caught in the middle, feels overwhelmed but eventually gives in, and they all walk together, with him holding both of their hands. Claire finds a stall selling toy swords and excitedly suggests they continue their duel from yesterday, showcasing her innocent, boyish side that contrasts with her cool and mature demeanor in the game. As the day turns to evening, Claire suggests they find a good spot to watch the fireworks. Lux, who has never really seen fireworks before, agrees. Their pleasant evening is interrupted by a commotion. A group of robed figures, the Demon King Resurrection Cult, has gathered a crowd, promising salvation and equality under a resurrected Demon King. Lux recognizes them from the game as the main character's enemies, who work in secret to revive their Dark Lord. He knows that if they succeed, they will immediately come after his evil eye. Faced with his greatest enemy, Lux feels a surge of anxiety. He is confident he could defeat these low-level believers but doesn't want to draw attention to himself. The girls notice his distress and ask if he is okay, unaware of the cult's true nature. He reassures them, but the encounter serves as a stark reminder that this world, while similar to the game, is very real and full of dangers he didn't anticipate. He realizes his knowledge is incomplete and that he was naive to think he could easily change his fate. He needs to get stronger, gather more information, and reconsider his actions to avoid repeating the tragic ending of the original story. As the fireworks finally begin to light up the sky, their beauty is a stark contrast to the darkness that looms. Claire and Eliza express how much fun they've had, thanking Lux for the memorable day. In the original game, these two heroines were destined to kill each other, but here, In this new reality, they are standing together, watching the same sky. Lux feels a sense of hope, believing that their fates and his own are starting to change. Just as the moment feels perfect, an announcement calls for Lux to report to the emergency tent, where he finds Dennis clutching his stomach in agony, having eaten way too much festival food. The final day of the 10th anniversary celebration has arrived, and the only event left is the grand dance party. This party marks the prologue to the game Blasphane, where the hero and heroines have their fateful first meetings. Having played the game many times, Lux is incredibly excited to witness this iconic moment himself, positioning himself as a discreet, mob character to watch over the heroines from the sidelines. As he gets ready in a smart new suit, his maids, Melon and Morga, admire his appearance. Lux explains his plan to be one with the wind, a discreet observer, which the maids immediately protest, insisting he should be attracting the attention of the girls. He dismisses their concerns, confident in his plan. Originally, Lux was not supposed to attend the dance party. In the game's story, he is sent to the hospital by Claire after the tournament. Furthermore, he has a deep and complicated connection with the main heroine, Lyra Scarlet, which is another reason for his absence. He is determined not to interfere with the hero and Lyra's meeting, believing that if he just stays back, everything will be fine. However, as he walks through the magnificent castle, he is immediately recognized by other partygoers as the evil-eyed boy, and they whisper about how ominous he is, ruining their precious party. This unwanted attention frustrates Lux, who was trying his best not to stand out. He considers leaving to avoid letting down Melon and Morga, who worked so hard on his appearance. Just as he is about to give up, a clear voice rings out, telling everyone there is no need to fear the evil eye. It is the princess, Lyra Scarlet, who boldly declares that the evil eye is not scary and that she will prove it. She orders Lux to show her his eye, and despite his hesitation, he complies. As she looks into his eyes, she confirms that, just as she thought, she is perfectly fine. She then reassures everyone that there is no need to fear Lux Zeldia. When he apologizes for the trouble, she simply asks him what for, and he realizes that her sincere act of kindness has once again failed to change the crowd's prejudice. He understands that this earnestness is what makes her the main heroine. Lyra then asks to speak with him privately, and they find a quiet spot on a balcony. She apologizes for their first meeting when they were children. She was small and scared when she saw his eyes, and she cried, an event that she feels has hurt him. This is the connection between them that drove a wedge in their relationship in the original game. Lux's resentment and Lyra's remorse caused them to fall into darkness, and they never reconciled. But now, with his new perspective, Lux sees a chance to change their future. He tells Lyra that he understands why she acted so boldly earlier. She had been looking back on that day, learning about his evil eye, and her heart was broken for him. Her actions were not sudden but born from deep empathy. He tells her that her kindness has saved him more than words ever could and asks that she look to the future instead of the past, striving for friendship rather than dwelling on apologies. Moved by his words, Lyra is ashamed of her mistake as a princess but is also incredibly grateful to him. With the heavy burden lifted from their shoulders, Lux suggests they enjoy the dance party. Lyra shyly asks if he would be willing to dance with her, a request that completely surprises and delights him, signaling a major deviation from the original story and a new, hopeful beginning for their relationship.